Hello, and thank you for joining me for the very first episode of Know Before You Buy the Things We Love and the Things We Hate. This series of interviews will cover blind people in their homes talking about the different appliances that they have and different devices that they use on a daily basis. This is not an assistive technology show. This is a show to talk about everyday items that we use that we have to accommodate ourselves to use or adapt in some way. Our first interview is a dear friend of mine, Heidi Joshi, and she will talk about the things in her home she likes and the things in her home she hates. We then are going to talk a little bit about traveling as a blind person. In part one, we will talk about the home, and part two, we'll talk about traveling. So sit back and enjoy, and thank you for coming along on the Know Before You Buy journey. Hello, everyone. I want to introduce you to my dear friend, Heidi Joshi. She is the first person I will be interviewing for the Know Before You Buy the Things We Love and the Things We Hate. Heidi, can you just give us the too long did not read? Who is Heidi?
Oh, sure. Good morning, everyone. As Lucy mentioned, I'm Heidi, and I think you and I have known each other for what, 20-ish years? Oh, wow. Okay. So that's crazy. That time flies.
Yes.
So I live out here in California, and I am a psychologist. I work for a healthcare organization. During the pandemic, it's been kind of wild. I'm married. I have two kids, ages 14 and 8, and a dog and a cat.
Excellent. And I promise we won't get into why the things that we hate drive us crazy. No work on the weekends for you, Heidi.
It's all good.
Okay. Heidi is one of my friends who I've worked with and played with and eaten with, and I've just enjoyed having her as somebody I could call a close friend for years. And the way we first met, if you don't mind me telling everyone, Heidi, is that
No.
she was looking for someone to help her get some, extra kitchen chops. And I really don't know why she asked for that from rehab.
I still wouldn't mind that, Lucy.
Well, I mean, I think Heidi's got, decent enough kitchen chops, and,
Thank
she
you.
does a lot of other things in her life, and, she doesn't have time for the kitchen, frankly.
No one in my family has starved, though. I just want to go on record as saying.
Yeah, and that's exactly, my point is that her family eats well and are very happy people, and they,
Right.
but
Yeah.
we started working together looking at cooking skills. And if I remember correctly, Heidi, and correct me if I'm wrong, did you not have a flat top stove when you and I first met?
I don't think that one was flat. I think the one I have now is flat. Because the house we purchased here in California we had to, like, the California housing market is what it is, and it's insane. And so we had to take what we could, and it ended up having a completely flat stove that is to this day still something that's very difficult for me to use. But you and I were using a pretty standard, pretty easy to use oven, if I'm not, because I was living in Alameda at the time.
Yes, that's right. It was a fairly standard coil burner electric stove.
Yeah.
And I think we had fun with it. I mean, we cooked some really good
meals. It was not hard.
No.
That kitchen was pretty small. That was the only thing about that kitchen. It was, it was definitely cozy, but it was fine. It had everything we needed, and nothing we didn't.
Well, and the thing I loved about it is when it did get the most crowded, I could just go on the other side and call in over the window, and it did get really crowded. Yeah, it did get really crowded because your husband was also like really interested in what we were talking about, and the two of you were just so passionate about being in the kitchen. I I found it
Yeah.
really thrilling. And that's why we're still friends to this day, is because you and I like the same things.
We like food, Lucy. What can I say? I'm
It,
much happier if I'm just eating the food, but still, yeah, we like it. And he definitely likes to cook, probably way more than I do. I mean, I cook to survive. I actually cook to he enjoys it. So I think that's been really nice.
and in a way that actually means that, you're really lucky and you have, you have that opportunity to have somebody else who likes to cook.
Yeah.
Because let's get into the things I hate. I mean, there is a lot of things out there that somebody
Yeah.
as busy as you, a professional as you, need to rely on
Yeah.
to get things done quickly, and they don't work.
Right.
So if
Yeah.
I
And
ask,
and it's, yeah,
go ahead.
and well, technology is that way anyway. Like there are days where I'm thrilled with it and days where I'm just like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you go through a day at the office, you're fighting with your email, you're fighting with the database you have to access as a doctor. I'm sure you're getting into medical records and,
Yes.
it's painful stuff. Then we come home and all
Right.
you want to do is put something in the microwave. Oh, wait, you can't control the microwave because it's a flat touch screen.
Right.
So now we're going to try putting it in the oven. And if you have an oven that these modern ones are like, those controls may not be accessible. I
Right.
remember getting my first stove that had those types of controls on it back in the 90s, and it
Yeah.
was a dial that you had to spin.
Yeah. And it never
And
stopped spinning.
nope, it didn't. And it was tiny little clicks. Like if you moved your hand at the wrong speed, your count would be off. And of course it would
Yeah.
go up by 5 degrees. Like, why by 5 degrees? Why not 25 degrees, for crying out
Right.
loud?
Right.
And so, I'd always set the oven and just pray that, I had the oven set to the right thing. And
Yeah.
I seem to recall that your oven that we were talking about that you were cooking on actually did have a digital control panel. But let's talk about that wonderful husband of yours. By the way, can I
Yeah.
can I have him?
Yeah. He's a good guy.
He's
He's
a
a
great
keeper.
guy.
He's a keeper for sure. Yeah.
He
And he definitely finds ways of making things work.
exactly. He had done a lot of good work on marking that oven for you and putting braille labels on it and
Hmm.
stickers
Yeah.
and I came into your kitchen and I could instantly start using, that
Right.
numeric keypad that you needed to set the temperature for the oven. And
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And I would say he's like that for a lot of things, not just in the kitchen, but just even just orienting to new places, or his brain just kind of works like that. He's already thinking about what he can tell me that's going to make it more accessible.
yeah, and that's really lucky. I mean,
I know.
there are people who don't have that
Yeah.
partner. And
Right.
really it's a partnership
Yeah.
because, there's a lot of things that you provide him that he doesn't get
Right.
otherwise. So it's phenomenal to watch. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're one of
Yeah.
my you're one of my favorite couples. So
Oh, thank you. You guys too, for sure. Yeah,
thank you.
we enjoy hanging out.
And so let's talk about some of those things that you have in your current house because
Okay.
the 2002 era, that's gone now. We can't
Right.
go back to those good old days.
No.
So you come home from work and let's talk about some of the things that you encounter in your home. Tell me
Okay.
about some of the stuff you like first. Let's start with the good
Start with
stuff.
the things I like. Okay. I got to be honest with you, Lucy. A lot of things in my home are not super accessible. It's actually been a long-term topic of conversation. Like what's worth changing, what isn't. That's kind of the discussion we have on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Um,
And there's a 3-to-1 ratio in your home.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I can get away with that discussion a little bit more than if I was living by myself. And I often think about that, like if I had to live in this house by myself, how would it be? And it would be pretty challenging. So my stove is I mentioned that stove, but it literally is completely flat to my counter. There's no way for me to find out where the burners are. And so, I would definitely need to think about how to make that more accessible. So really in the last 2 years, if I want to use the stove, I have to ask someone to make sure that I have the pan where it needs to be. Um, and so someone
Yeah,
has to be
that's
someone has to be home. That's the other thing. It's like I don't want to wait for people to be here. If I
so.
want to make something, I want to make something.
So in your family, the 8-year-old can't use the stove, and neither can the adult.
Exactly. Yeah. And the 8-year-old's not allowed to use the stove. But yes, exactly.
It, it's it become. I mean, for me, I would find that angering and frustrating and humiliating at times.
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating. My 14-year-old has more access to our kitchen than I do. Which frankly, in some ways, I'm like, fine, you need to do something to earn your keep. But the flip side of that is, right, it's odd, right, that she can use more things in that kitchen that I pay for than she can.
Yeah, it's actually a really really important factor. I mean, it sets up a sense of priority and a sense of how we have to do things. I mean, luckily she's in the house more than you are, and
Right.
she's there a lot of the
Yeah.
time. Now that we have a pandemic, kids don't go out anymore, so
Yeah.
she's
Yeah. She's here
available for
quite a bit.
you.
Right. And again, I mean, another side topic, but I think kids need to be doing things and chores and not just be, lazing around and have the adults do everything for them. So she has things she needs to be doing in that kitchen.
Yeah,
Um,
so okay,
but
so the kitchen now, you can't use the stove.
I can't use the stove. Even things like, so my refrigerator
Hmm.
has an ice maker and a water filter dispenser on it.
Okay.
And I can use, I can open the door and use the fridge, but I can't use the ice and the water because it toggles back and forth. And so there's no way for me to know if somebody leaves it on ice. I don't know that it's on ice until I press it and I get ice instead of water.
And now, do you have the ability then though to switch it to water?
Uh, I have put Braille on it to switch it to water, but the only way I can do that is to have someone who's sighted to tell me, this is the way you need to switch it to water.
So even with the braille, you can't really switch it independently. Now that, let's be honest, that sucks. I mean, that's
Yeah,
completely.
it's just, it's one button that can make it or break it, right? I mean, that's the thing about accessibility is sometimes you can have a product that is wonderful and you still love it, but you can't do the things independently that you want to do.
I think so too. I think so too. I mean, it is a disability, but it's, you know, we still are very happy people, and there are some things
Yeah,
that we get pleasure in. So, if I remember, you actually have like a ninja, or not a ninja, a Vitamix that you said you really like to
I
use.
I do. Yeah, and I find it very easy to use. I will say that I will often put, so I have there's an order to the dial of the Vitamix, and it has different programs like smoothie, dips, soup. There's different, and there's
Yep.
clicks for each one of those. But I like to know what the order is. So I have a little braille list in order of the dial up on my cupboard door. Like when you open up my cupboard door, it's sitting up there because I
Excellent.
don't want to have to remember that stuff. I got other things to remember. I mean, there are many blind people, and I will say that there have been times in my life where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to braille it. I'll just remember it. But I think I have gotten to the point in my life where it's like, no, I'm not going to remember that. I'm not going to remember this. I need to make myself a little, cheat
If
sheet.
if you ever go back to school, are you going to study what the final capacity of our brains to memorize things is?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I'm going back to school, Lucy.
I only tease because I watched Heidi make it through her PhD, and
I've
boy,
spent enough years in school that I'm good.
she
I'm
fought
good.
for that tooth and nail.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I
Yes, in
remember
fact, my graduation party for my PhD was at Lucy's house.
it was, and the cake we got her, what we wrote on it, one tough cookie, because she was a tough cookie.
We got through it, but it took a village, let me tell you.
And again, being blind, we get through things. We get through things with the help of other people and things that are actually designed for us and things that work. I mean, it's key that there are things that we use that we can't use 100% effectively, and there are other things that we can't use at all. But there's still those one or two little things like your ninja. Yes, you have to memorize the patterns.
Right.
But you could get away without using that. You could just turn it on and blend everything at the same speed. You don't get the same result, but you could do it.
Right. Yes.
I mean, it's, eventually we find things that we do, and those things bring us pleasure. And sometimes getting through finding those things that actually work for us.
Yeah.
It actually is more rewarding to use those things than it would have been if it was just something we bought and brought home and used.
And it does take sometimes trial and error, right? Like there are things that I think, oh, this could probably work, and they don't, and I have to be willing to take it back or, change my expectation.
Exactly. The rental policy of Amazon.com or the rental policy of whatever company we're buying something from, because, if it doesn't work because it's inaccessible, we're not going to keep the item.
Yeah, unless you're in my treadmill, I guess.
Well, I mean, you made your adaptations, and your adaptations are ones that only Heidi could make.
Right. I mean, and there are things that we keep because they functionally do what we need them to do, but we've had to adapt them or know that, okay, I'm just gonna have, I know that I'm gonna have to get someone to help me with this. If I'm gonna keep this, that's what it means.
Exactly. And that's kind of what happens with your toaster oven, correct?
Oh my gosh. So we have this Breville toaster oven that I got for my husband for Father's Day one year, because I knew he would love this. It was not meant for me specifically, although we kind of have a unwritten rule in our house that we try to have as many things here that are accessible for the whole family, that it's not about, just something other people can use and not me. That's not, we try really hard not to do that. However, I knew this oven was just going to be up his alley. And it could do a lot of things. It could air fry, it can, bake and broil, and I don't know, make it just, it's pretty cool. And I also knew it was one my kids could easily use over time. So I got this for him thinking, you're going to think this is fabulous. And he does. He loves this oven. Like something could happen to me and he'd be like, but is my oven okay? I mean, he just really likes this thing. I cannot use it at all. It's I think I can set the bake function on it, and that's it. Like I would never, and you need to be able to set the time, because the oven, the reason my kids can use this is because it shuts off automatically. So they don't have to remember to turn it off. But at the same time, I can't set the time on it. So it won't actually turn the bake on because the time's not set. And, there's just all these features that this thing has that I cannot use. So now we have to have a discussion, like, do we look for another toaster oven? What is our plan for that? And is there one out there that I can actually use?
And, that's the other question. That last question is the most important one, is there another one out there that I can actually use?
Well, the thing about this Breville toaster oven that he really likes is that you can use a full size, cookie sheet in this oven, right? So
that's rare.
It's rare. And so that was one of the things I thought he would really like about, he roasts vegetables and like he uses it for so many things. And so, if my older daughter wants to make cookies, that's what she uses. But you're right. Yeah. It's, if I want to find one that's accessible to me, chances that I'm going to be able to, it's going to be a big enough oven to put the cookie sheet in, for example, is probably not going to happen.
Yeah. And it's just sad. And I think about it. I have 2 Breville's that I've used myself, and both of those almost make the mark. I mean, one of them we've done a know before you buy on, and another one I've used in a couple of my cooking videos.
Uh-huh.
Both of those actually almost make the mark. And it's just sad to see that, the same company didn't think it through enough that you could use that toaster oven.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
looking forward to coming and doing a review of that.
Oh, yeah, you should. You should definitely, and you should do it with my husband because he will tell you all the joys of this oven. And so it would be kind of a good, but he also knows what's not accessible about it.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, and that I didn't intend for that to be sort of like my main thing. When I bought it, I thought this is really going to be something he's going to enjoy. And it's been in our family for several years now.
And
And it's well used, just not by me.
exactly. And when we, have the $100 to buy the toaster oven, we should have a choice of multiple ones that give us the functions and lets us do what we want to do.
It's
Need
interesting.
and need.
And having some free will it's interesting that you bring that up. That works in so many different ways. Like I want to have the free will to not use it too, right? So for example, when I was in school and I remember taking my reading materials to the disabled student services to have some put into Braille. Now this was before my doctoral program.
Yeah.
And I remember the woman saying to me, well, this is a lot of work for us, so make sure you read everything. And I was just like, I'm going to read whatever the hell I feel like reading. Like this, I'm a student just like everyone else. And,
E-
I
exactly.
want the right to get a bad grade just like everyone else, like,
Yeah. And if I decide I don't want to read the chapter on,
yeah,
this, I'm not going to read that chapter.
right,
If I know now, I would tell you not to braille it, but I mean, it's none of your
right.
damn business what I do with what you create for me.
Yeah. And so I think, some of that is just a little bit snarky on my part, but it really what I think it does is I think there's a lot of um, templates that are put on us by folks of, well, if we're going to do this for you, then you kind of owe us, right? Like if we're going to put in all
Yeah.
this work and we're going to make sure that you can do this, then, you should be great, make sure you're grateful. And
Yeah.
it's like, and I am very grateful for the things that people have done for me. Like I said, I don't take my village for granted one bit. But having
No,
said that, we should be able to have some sense of access and of having those things and not feel like we are beholden to the world.
exactly. You know, I want to be able to walk into the kitchen and pour a glass of cold water and not get ice,
Right.
or pour some ice on the floor for my dog. And I want the choice to be mine that the dog gets the ice, not the fact that the fridge is set to ice.
Right. Right now she gets ice on a regular basis.
It's a good thing for you and me that our dogs like ice.
I know. I know. But it's definitely I think it's it really falls under that sort of ableism,
Yeah.
category where ableism can be very blatant and obvious, but it's also can be very insidious. And, I think it's not just it's ableist that I can't access certain things, but but the attitudes of others around what I can and cannot access are also often ableist.
Yeah. I have to agree. Thanks for watching the very first episode of Know Before You Buy, the things we love and the things we hate. Please be sure to leave us comments and let us know what you think. The next episode will be part 2 of the interview with Heidi Joshi. We will cover traveling as a blind person and things we find that make life difficult outside of the home. Please be sure to subscribe and don't forget to hit like.